And welcome back again to the Expressway. I'm Charles, show me the way, here with the BT Express. Billy telling you're watching us live on alumnimedia.com. Check us out each and every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Wednesday on NFLalumnimedia.com. If you can't catch us live on alumnimedia.com, you can always check out the recording of the show on YouTube starting at 9 a.m. on Fridays. Every Friday at 9 a.m. you can check the recording of the show 9 a.m. But BT, quiet on the Giants front. Finally, about time. Things are quieting down. No more coaching drama going on. The problem is that can Brian Dabble really find coaches that want to work with him? Because given the rumors out there that he's very hard on coaches, he yells at coaches. Do you think an experienced coach would want to deal with that? Given the past experience with Wink Martindale, you heard like the grumblings with Mike Kafka. What do you think about that? Do you think it's going to be hard for Coach Dabo, to find some good coaches?
So, Charles, in the NFL, the word gets around quickly. I mean, once something happens, everybody knows about it. My problem is that I think, and this is me just dealing with him the last 2 years, that he's got that Napoleon complex because he's not really a tall guy. And I think that he feels that he's got to step up to people. And the three things that kind of made me mad was number one, him yelling at Danny Jones on the sideline, because if you yell at somebody, they probably get only a three-quarters of the message because your tone of voice. And then the second one was Tyrod Taylor, and Tyrod went back and forth with him. You could tell Brian Dable was yelling, and Tyrod Taylor was talking calmly. And the last one was to the defensive coordinator Wick, and I thought that was pathetic because they looked up each other. He looked like he was looking up to the Empire State Building because he's about 6 or 7 inches smaller than the defensive coordinator. And so I just think I don't want to be yelled at like that. I don't care who it is. If you can't talk to me in a normal voice, and the number one reason, Charles, and I'm a corporate trainer, that people leave an organization is because they don't get along with the first line manager or coach. And that's a perfect example right there. If Charles, if someone's going to yell at you if you make a mistake, are you coming back to that guy? Are you going to re-sign with them? Are you going to at least think of somewhere else to go?
Yeah, and when you listen to all of the rumors that are out there, obviously we're not in in the building, so we don't know actually what's going on. We're not in the coaching staff in the meeting rooms with the coaching staff when they reviewing games and talking about game plans. So I don't know how that dynamic is, but if you believe a little bit, because 25 to 50% of what you hear, some of that is true. It's coming from somewhere. So some of it is true. I just don't know if I'm Mike Kafka, how comfortable I would be in a situation where I don't know if I'm going to be the scapegoat or not. Because if the offense starts off poorly again next year, is that going to be put on my shoulders, and is it going to be my fault? And will it impact my career? Will I ever have a chance to be another offensive coordinator? And so some of the rumors I can believe they can be true, that Mike Kafka isn't happy and he's looking to go somewhere else. I just don't know if the Giants will let him out of his contract. Obviously, he can't go to a lateral position. You can't leave in the NFL. They have a rule now. If you're an offensive coordinator, you can't move to go to another team in a lateral position unless the team lets you out. You have to be elevated to a head coach position. So if I don't think the Giants can afford to let him go, just because the optics of letting him go would be more detrimental than keeping him.
Yeah, but okay, if someone is disrespectful or condescending to you, do you sit there and take it, or do you look for another job? The thing about it is that from Kafka's standpoint, Brian Dable really is an offensive guy. I mean, he really is. So he's looking over his shoulder almost every single play. And anything that goes wrong, he's going to do something to possibly even take over the play calling. And I just think that he's got to change, or they got to do something, because I still haven't seen them signing anybody good for to be the defensive coordinator yet. So I just think that Brian Dable has got to be the one to change. And I don't know, do you change your stripes? Does a tiger change his stripes ever? If that's the way you've been your whole life, which I never knew. I never knew that he was a yeller or a screamer. I never knew that until I saw it during the course of a game. If you're doing it during the course of a game, what the heck are you doing in practice and in the meetings? Because the game is when everybody's looking at you, and a camera's on the head football coach of every NFL team all the time. And all they got to do from a direction standpoint, go to Brian Daboll because he's screaming. And I just don't understand how you can allow that to happen to yourself when you know you're under a microscope.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Do you think he should take over the play calling and put it on his shoulders, especially given how important next season is? I mean, it's a big season for everyone. It's a big season for not only him as a head coach, because coming off of a coach of the year season, then going into a poor season, do you think because this year is an important year, because you've been trying to build up a good cohesive team. If you look at the past two drafts, you had pretty decent picks in the last 2 years of this Joe Shane and Brian Dabble era. So you have a lot to prove next year, because the talent that you've accumulated over the past 2 years should be providing some semblance of growth and giving you an opportunity to see how good you really can be. And so that's on the coaching staff right now. Look at what Dan Campbell did to the Detroit Lions. You look at the Detroit Lions and where they've come from. You look at a lot of the other teams. Look at Houston Texans. They were picked to be last. And look at what they're doing. So I think this next season is a season where I believe Coach Dabble should just take over the play calling and do what he wants to do.
I'm going to agree with you on that, because if you're going to go down, you go down, with your stuff, not by somebody else's actions. And I think if next year is indeed a situation where he's got to step up to the plate, then he's got to do it his way. My problem comes with you still got a lot of little things, because last year exposed a lot of things. Danny Jones has only been healthy 1 out of 5 years. Saquon Barkley may be franchised. He may be traded. I think maybe they should go ahead and trade him if they don't want to pay him. And you saw the thoughts on Thigaboo, the number 5, the defensive end.
Yeah.
He stepped up and talked about how Saquon should have been paid. That is a division in the locker room, Charles, if that continues to go on, because how can you not support Saquon because of him being a team player? He came in, he could have held out like other running backs, but he came in on time and did what he's supposed to do. The only thing I thought differently was when he made a long play, he ran to the sidelines instead of coming back to the huddle, and that may have been an adjustment that he made.
Yeah, and so my question for you is, when looking at, all right, so let's be Joe Shane, and let's just take Saquon Barkley, because that's the elephant in the room. Everyone wants to know, are we going to franchise? They can franchise him again, or extend him to a long-term contract. It'll be in a range of what, $15 to $16 million, which really isn't, given the scope of how much players are getting paid right now. It really isn't a lot of money.
Really is not.
And especially how important to the team he is. And you see how important Christian McCaffrey is to the San Francisco 49ers. And I think he is in the same category or class as Christian McCaffrey. When you look at the running backs in the NFL, I think Kamara could be in that category, because he's important to the New Orleans Saints, to what they do. When you look at the other running backs, who else can give you that much of an impact on a game, receiving and running the ball, other than what Christian McCaffrey and what Saquon Barkley does? And even if you want to throw Kamara in the picture, because he's an excellent receiver out of the backfield, so he's more than just a runner. I know you love the guy Bijan Robinson in Atlanta, and he's a dynamic player. I think he's probably one of the most dynamic players outside of Marshall Faulk. You put him in the Marshall Faulk category, where that dude, when he got the ball anywhere, and I think Marshall Faulk and Christian McCaffrey, I think Marshall Faulk was still more of an explosive player than Christian McCaffrey, but you put them in the same category because they can change a game if they got the ball in their hands. Given all of that and saying all of that, What's the problem with paying I mean, play devil's advocate. Now, don't be the running back. All right. You're the GM of the New York Giants. What's the negative of signing Saquon Barkley right now?
I mean, to a franchise tag, the
Yeah.
negative to
Or
that,
no, to a long-term deal.
I think there's no negative at all. As a matter of fact, if you give him 2 or 3 years, he's okay. I think McCaffrey, this after this year, he's going to get a big contract. And I'm going to, and San Francisco 49ers are going to do him the way he's supposed to be done, give him the money because he's being productive. I mean, you look at him in the game, he takes over the game. I mean, and he's really a lot better than I thought. He runs hard, he's tough, it's hard to bring him down. But see, I just think, and that Saquon may benefit from that because of the higher market. And I think running backs are out to prove that. And even though I'm trying to step away from the running back position, I'd give for the happiness of your team, for the camaraderie of your team, knowing what he does and what other players are stepping up to. I think he should get paid because if you think about it, he's probably, and I'm just guessing, probably seventh, eighth highest paid on the Giants. He's way down there for a guy who's been that productive.
But when you look at the dynamics of what your needs are, and him being able to play, he's not going to play 17 games ever, probably, right?
But who does?
But what I'm saying is, so am I paying what? So what's the right number to give him if he's only going to play 10 games a year?
Played 14 last year, Charles. 14 out of 17. I think that's good enough. I do.
But
14
he
out of
has, but
17
that was
is
his
still.
first. But wasn't that the first year he's done that?
Well, I mean, what do you want to go on? 2 years ago, or you want to go on what happened yesterday? So you're
I mean,
going back. You've been like a general manager. Let me
but
go
that's what.
back and see.
But that when I prefaced this conversation, I said take our running back hat
Just take it
off
out. Yep, take it off.
and put on your general manager's hat, knowing that the salary cap is
Going
very
up.
limited.
Well,
And so you need to fix the defense because you got to get some linebackers and
yep,
some D linemen.
yep,
Even though I don't know if there's any that deserve $20 million. That's the going rate for a good D tackle,
yep.
right? I don't know if you can find one out there that's worth $20 million because I don't want another Leonard Williams on contract coming in. And that's what I'm saying. How many free agents? Okereke wasn't an expensive contract, but he's a legit good player.
Yes, he is.
I look at that as an Antonio Pierce signing. Antonio Pierce was a guy that they found that was a free agent and did what he had to do and didn't cost them a lot of money, but was very productive, right? And so when you look at that, and I'm on the side of Saquon. When you look at the market for good players, right? There really isn't a lot of players out there on the free agent market that deserve the 20 to $25 million
Yep,
contracts a year,
yep,
especially on a defense, which you need to focus on and you need to
yep.
improve. So why not give Saquon his 15 to $16 million? Because you're not going to be spending that money on somebody that's a top tier defensive tackle or linebacker.
We'll see. Okay, and Dexter Lawrence won the most valuable player of the New York Giants, and I give him kudos for that. And I thought he had a better year last year than he did this particular year. If you look at Saquon and what he has to deal with, he does not have a great offensive line. He's not coming through gigantic holes. He's creating some of the stuff himself. He's a dual threat. And I think all that's got to be in consideration. And if you do decide to franchise him, you're going to make some people mad.
Yeah, I totally agree. And a good conversation. We got a lot more to talk about. We're going to talk about the Jets the next quarter, but a lot more to talk about with the Giants. Hopefully, something will transpire over the next week. Like all and everything, NFL is always in the news, especially since this is a dead week. You got the Pro Bowl coming up next week, so we got a lot of news coming. Can't wait to talk about it. But you're listening to the Expressway with the BT Express, Billy Taylor and Charles Show Me the Way. We'll be right back in a moment. And welcome back to the Expressway. You're watching us live on NFLalumnimedia.com. I'm Charles. Show me the way here with the BT Express. You can check us out each and every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. each and every Wednesday live on NFLalumnimedia.com. If you can't check us out live on NFLalumnimedia.com, you can always check the recording out every Friday at 9 a.m. on YouTube. Check us out every Friday if you miss us live on YouTube at 9 a.m. Well, BT, the Jets, like I said, is not as the world turns anymore. They're not. You don't even hear anything. You don't hear a peep out of the Jets. Since Aaron Rodgers got kicked off of the Pat McCafferty show, you don't even hear about Aaron Rodgers anymore. So,
well, why did he get kicked off?
Because he started talking about somebody was part of the Epstein was on the Epstein.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so it was crazy.
That's too deep.
Yeah,
that's too deep if you think about it.
Yeah,
for him to go out on a limb like that, because and I don't even want to get into it, but Epstein has been, rumored to be with a lot of people, and for Aaron Rodgers to bring that up, that's scary.
Without proof. Without proof.
And these days, you got to have proof on that. Well, see, the thing I did learn is that the quarterback Wilson is a good pickleball player, and they say that might be his game for the future. He's done well in that. I like that the offseason is quiet for them, because if you think about it, their coaching staff, we talk about the Giants coaching staff being on the hot seat. There's not even a maybe. Their coaching staff, they don't do it this year, everybody's going to be gone. And, Aaron Rodgers is the difference between a great year and a good year. And I think they cannot afford to have what happened this past year to go down, because even their coach realizes, I think he's in his fourth year coming up. And that's a long time, especially this day and age, if you don't win. So he's got to step up big time, CW.
Yeah, when you look at the Jets and where they started, and all the enthusiasm and excitement that surrounded the Jets and how it collapsed, I think part of it, and I think it's more mature coach. Think about it. Rob Saleh, this is his first head coaching gig in his career. And so it takes time, just like Brian Daboll, this is his first year. It takes time. How many years, instead of being a quick trigger and say, like the Carolina Panthers wants to fire a coach after 1 year and go through 3 or 4 coaches in the first 2 years of his existence owning the team. He's gone through 2 coaches since owning the team, and he's picked both of those coaches. How quickly do you move on from a coach that you just hired? You got to give him time to build a culture. You got to give him time to establish himself. Look at the Detroit Lions. Look at Dan Campbell. The first 2 years, the first year they won 1 game. The next year they started off 0-7. Any owner would have probably said, get rid of him. And then all of a sudden, they have a good end of the season where they win 8 straight games and everybody's excited. And look at what they did. They make it to the NFC Championship game. So how long do you give a coach? How long are you patient with a coach like Rob Saleh to give him a chance to establish himself?
Well, it's up to ownership on different teams to decide how long they're giving coaches. If you think about it, the Giants, for the first time in the history, fired somebody after 2 seasons. I'd never seen that happen. I didn't think John Mara would ever do something like that. But then you get disappointed, and you see other teams who turn it around in 1 year. You talked about the Houston Texans and their situation. They got a rookie quarterback, a rookie coach, and they both turned around. They went to the playoffs this year. I just think, to be honest with you, if you know in the second or third year if a guy's got potential, if they're playing for you, if they're giving you hard effort. When I watch the NFL, even late in the season, I watch who plays for who. And you're right about Dan Campbell. Those guys fly around for him. They almost like do whatever he says. And so the thing about it is that Brian Daboll, he's got an opportunity, but I just see so many things they need. I'm not impressed with the offensive line, even though I think that will come together. I still think that they need a wide receiver who's can do the underneath stuff if you get Hyatt going on the outside. And so, all these needs have got to be addressed. But in the draft this year, Charles, they got a lot of good wide receivers. And so if you can pick one that fits your system, that could help everybody. And then you don't know about the status of Danny Jones. And so we're getting back to the Jets again, and I'm just worried that if something happens to Aaron Rodgers, they might as well just get rid of the coach right in the
Yeah.
beginning.
But do you think it's a cultural thing? Do you think because the focus at the beginning of the season was we're going to get Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers is going to be the savior, and you focus all of your attention not how you would normally build a team. Put your GM hat on again. Not how you would build a team. Like you have to build a good backup because you know that you're one play away from your backup being a starter. So you have to have a good quality team. Philly, the reason why Philly screwed up, because we talked about it at the beginning of the year, that they probably had the most depth of any team in the NFL. And we saw it play out. Look at what San Francisco, when their top three guys got hurt, they were a shell of themselves. They lost 3 in a row, 2-3 in a row, as long as those guys were out. And so depth is important. And it's important to build your team. I think they were so focused on Aaron Rodgers. There was an article that just came out in online that said that one unnamed coach said it was a mess in the locker room. You had people so focused on Aaron Rodgers. You had an inept offensive coordinator. You had them not thinking about the bigger picture. I mean, all of this stuff, the anonymous source is always the one that's going to get you. And like I said, you have to believe at least 25% of what people write because they're getting it from somewhere, right? It may be embellished a little bit, but given all of that, what do you have to do differently? They're not getting rid of Nathaniel Hackett. We know that. But what if this was my job, if I'm Rob Saleh and this is my job, I got to go in and Nathaniel Hackett and say, look, man, we can't do what we did last year. You got to prepare. You got to prepare the backup quarterback, whoever that backup quarterback is, if he's not in the building, to step in and play well. Not have what we had this year in case Aaron Rodgers is just coming off of a Achilles. You expect him to make it 17 games with a subpar offensive line, especially if you can't fix it. So you got to expect him to get hurt. You can't. Now you know what you need in order to improve. So you got to get a good quarterback, good backup quarterback. There are a lot of backup quarterbacks out there that are serviceable. Find one that can come in and be a backup quarterback. And just in case the ship goes down, it's not going down with the captain, which is Aaron Rodgers.
See, my problem is that I think Aaron Rodgers is so sensitive because when they drafted Love in the first round, he got mad and got a captain attitude with the general manager, the coach, everybody. So I think in order to make things right, you got to go to Aaron to get his thoughts on who you should be the backup quarterback for him. And see, I think that he endorsed Wilson last year before he saw him play. And I think that he's got to get out of that and realize that they need someone who can at least make the good decisions and not put them in a situation where their defense is really at bay. So I just think that too much focus is on Aaron Rodgers. They get decisions and player efforts from him. He's the one who decides if some of the receivers stay, because even Cobb comes over for Green Bay, and he's not that good. They kind of had to pay him. So the only thing I could think of is they bring him in and kind of decide with him, because if they don't and they get somebody that he doesn't like, he's going to be upset, and you never know how it would affect his play.
But that's not how. But that's how they got into the situation
in the first place.
Bringing Randall Cobb, bringing that other offensive lineman from that couldn't play anymore, was on his last legs, and had him at offensive line position, getting beat every down. When you look at that, you as a general manager, as Joe Douglas, if I am, for my reputation and my career, I don't want to be looked at or perceived as an assistant general manager to a player, Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers is dictating who we pick. Aaron Rodgers is dictating who we keep as an offensive coordinator. That impacts my career. That impacts my future position, because I have to realize that this won't be my last job. I'm probably going, if I want to stay in the profession, I'm going to have another job. Eventually, I'm going to get fired, I'm going to leave or have another opportunity. But in order for me to do that, I have to do well in this position. So they got to, from an organizational standpoint, outside of Aaron Rodgers, they got to regroup and kind of lay some ground rules with Aaron Rodgers and say, look, this is our team. If we appreciate you, we appreciate what you do, but we have to do what's best for our team, not what's best this year, but what's best for the next 5 to 10 years. And go ahead.
Well, let me flip it too. People say, well, why doesn't Belichick go to the Jets? And I think he's got something in for the Jets because if you remember when Parcells left, he introduced Bill Belichick as the next coach of the Jets, and Belichick turned it down and went to New England. So I don't think he'll come to the Jets. I just think that this is possibly the last year for that coaching staff because they'd have no room for error. I mean, they're in the toughest division as far as quarterbacks. You got so many Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes. You got so many Allen of Buffalo. You got so many good quarterbacks. So your chances of winning are not as great as if you were in the NFC. So that's why I think that this could be the last year for them because nobody's perfect. I don't see the Jets going 16-0, and so they're gonna have to compete on some level with a backup quarterback if something happens. That might be the difference in whose job is saved.
Yeah, it's really crazy. The another thing that came out is like the relationship between Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers are like frat brothers. It's not like coach player, right? It's like, hey, you know what? You're the same age as me. We're gonna kick it. And if I don't like what you're doing, so I'm gonna tell you, hey, you gotta fix it. I'm not gonna tell you how to fix it. I'm just gonna tell you to fix it. Right. And that's not how it should be. Because if Michael Jordan said, look, I want you to coach me. I don't care how great I am. I want you to coach me. If you can see something I can do better, tell me. And so that's not this situation. They have a lot of issues, and I hope for their sake and Jet fans' sake that they get it together next year.
I got another question for you. I just talked about Belichick. I was trying to figure why he didn't get a job. And my thing I came up with is, and I was a member of the media before after I was a player. And there's certain players like this guy named Eddie Murray played for Baltimore, Patrick Ewing played for the Knicks, and now Bill Belichick. They don't deal with the press well. And I think when you come out negative to the press, you don't win. None of those guys did. Patrick Ewing didn't win because he didn't go to the press. He couldn't get a job in the NBA as a head coach when all the great players did. Bill Belichick was mean to the press every single week. He might have been kidding around, and you and I know both because I know him personally. He's got great personality. He's a good guy, but he came off to people as aloof, as negative, as not wanting to talk to people, and that's not the truth. And I'm trying to think that may have had something to do with him not getting a job.
Yeah, I think also there was something going around, especially when before he got the Patriots job, is that he wanted a lot of control. He wanted to be like Bill Parcells. I think because Bill Parcells and he are tight, Bill probably said, look, if you take any job, you need to have control over who you pick, the players you pick. And so he wanted to have control in the person. I think that's what kind of rubbed the situation the wrong way in New England, is because Kraft really didn't have a lot of say as to what was going to be done. And I think Kraft didn't like that. Like, look, I'm the owner of this team. I'm the one that's writing the checks, and I can't tell you what I want, right? And I think that was part of the bone of contention, is that Belichick, because he had won a bunch of Super Bowls, he had a lot of power in New England. And I think Robert Kraft wanted to take that back rightfully so. You're an owner of a team that you're spending billions of dollars, that's worth billions of dollars. You want some say in your team, and he didn't seem like he had a lot of say in what he was doing.
See, my problem also is like it's the same thing with the Dallas Cowboys. If you don't kiss up to Jerry Jones, you're not going to be there. There's no even Mike McCarthy. The reason he's there is because he's a yes man. Jerry Jones, Parcells left there because Jerry Jones kept meddling in the business. As long as he meddles, I don't think the Cowboys will win. And he doesn't know that yet. So I just think, and then Belichick, the final thing is that Belichick in the last 7 years has maybe had 3 draft picks who stayed with the team. And you're talking about almost 49 players who came in there and only 3 stayed. That's him as a general manager.
Yeah, that's right, and I think that's one of the main reasons why it's tough for him, because he wants the perfect situation, and I don't think the owners are willing to give him that perfect situation. Well, you're listening to the Expressway with the BT Express Billy Teller and Charles Show Me the Way right here live on alumnimedia.com. Check us out each and every Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on NFLalumnimedia.com or on YouTube. The recording on YouTube Fridays at 9 a.m. But we got more to come. We're going to talk about the championship week. Got a lot to talk about. We're going to look at some plays and talk about how Lamar Jackson, like I said, is not Action Jackson. He's in Action Jackson. Can't make it to the Super Bowl. Like I told you, BT. Well, we will be right back in a minute.
Back on the Expressway, Billy Taylor and Charles Way. We're here each and every Wednesday. We try to go between 10, 10:30, and 11:30, and you can see us live on YouTube every Friday at 9 a.m. And Charles and I have been just talking about everything, but now we're going to get to the championship game. I didn't know what to think because Charles and Lamar Jackson much. And the stat I have is that 11 out of 13 games that he won this year, he won against teams that were over 500. In the back of the newspaper on Monday, it said that he choked. And the thing about it, I don't want to say that somebody choked. And I don't want to do it. As a former player, I don't want to do it. I'm just going to say he didn't have a good game.
But like I told you, BT, until he proves it, I cannot bet for. I will always bet against him because until he shows me and proves me he can do it, I don't think he can. Like I said, I wanted to text you when the game was going on. I was saying, look, the man can't even. His mechanics are poor. He throws off balance. He throws off the wrong foot. He throws sidearm. He's inaccurate as God knows what. And so those are some of the things that I don't like. Look at what Jalen Hurts. Like I wasn't a fan of Jalen Hurts, I don't. I'm still not a true believer of Jalen Hurts. I'm closer to believing he could be a decent quarterback, but he puts the work in. He wants to be mechanically correct. He wants to do the right thing. He wants to be a legitimate NFL quarterback. Whereas Lamar Jackson, he's just like, look, God gave me this ability. Guess what? What was the dude name? Oh my God, what was the quarterback name in the program? He just went out there and did whatever he wanted to do. He had the ability, he didn't have to practice. I mean, God, I'll think of the dude's name, but that's what Lamar Jackson reminds me of. Look, man, God gave me this ability. I don't need to study. I don't need to improve my craft. I don't need to improve my mechanics. I'm just going to be out there. And that's what gets me. Is like you get mad, you throw the helmet down, you throw in triple coverage. You throw your helmet down because you got an interception and you're throwing in triple coverage. Why are you throwing that pass? So that's what gets me. It's like
I thought that was the worst I've ever seen him play. And the thing about it is, I give an example. When you do stuff, Charles, has a lot to do with things. Like you told me to make it in the middle of the regular season. Not everybody sees it. You do it in the championship game. That's what they want to know. Look at Tiger Woods. He does something at the Masters. Everybody's looking at that. They say this Baltimore Kansas City was the most watched AFC game in NFL history for playoffs. It's like 50 something million people watch the game. And for him to do like that, I really, I think they lost the discipline. That receiver Flowers, you tell me that you think that was taunting. Not even a question. When I look at it and him talking down to the defensive back and pushing him down, and then he fumbled the ball at the goal line, I don't know what I would do as a coach if a player did that. You have to say something. You can't let that go. So I just think Jackson should have been able to one to control everything. They're the number one rushing team in the NFL. They didn't run the ball. I think what happened, they got down 14 and they figured that they're going to have a shootout with Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City, and I think they went early out of the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. When you look at Baltimore as a whole, you got a great defense. You got talented, skill position players from your running back, your tight ends, and to your receivers, and you're not. And it seems like you got the team to do it, and it's the quarterback. And I've told you that the reason why they won't win a Super Bowl is because I don't think he's trying to be a true. He's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, undeservingly so. Because he's not the best quarterback in the NFL. You can name three or four guys that are probably better than him, but he's probably the most talented quarterback because he can do the same thing as Patrick Mahomes. He can avoid the rush. He doesn't have to run the ball all down the field. He can move around the pocket and go past it, but he doesn't want to. That's not his game. That's not what he wants to do. And do you think in the offseason, have you ever heard, and maybe he does, and like I said, maybe he does, and I'm sorry for saying this, but do you hear people saying, "Oh, Lamar Jackson is a true professional. He works at his craft. You see him working extra. He's telling people to come here and work out and go passes and go through routes with me." You hear any of that? I don't hear any of that. It may happen. So I'm asking. You hear any of that? But if I don't hear any of that, it's not publicized, and so it just puts a bad perception on what we think of him as a quarterback.
And these days, Charles, I see quarterbacks, even Wilson of Denver, who's going to be a free agent pretty soon, but I see him step up in the pocket, avoid the rush, and still look downfield for a receiver. And I think when you step up in the pocket and you avoid the rush, there's got to be somebody open. I think that he was just one of the worst games I've ever seen him play. I kind of feel sorry for him, but I don't because he's making that kind of money. He said something before the game which made me mad. He said something like, two starting great quarterbacks, myself and Patrick Mahomes. It's not even a question. Patrick Mahomes is a much higher level than he is. And the thing that really kind of gets me is when you sit there and tell people you're great, you don't have to do that kind of stuff. People will tell you if you come and made a good game, you had a good game. They've been talking about you didn't have to bring it to himself. I've never seen Patrick Mahomes bring us in. I'm the greatest. I'm the best. He said, "Well, my team is good." And I like that kind of quarterback because even though you know you are, people will tell you that you are. You don't have to tell them.
Yeah, and like I said, and I'm sorry, we're taking putting all the attention on Lamar Jackson, but I mean, look at I know it's really we should be talking about Taylor Swift. Is there an over under on how many times PBS was going to show Taylor Swift? I mean, I'm talking about. They said they had a caption like, "Can you please leave me alone?" Like lipping, like leave me alone. Why are you always showing me on TV? It's like the game. I mean, you got Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And hold on, before I know this, I just changed because I wanted to get this because I know we got to talk about Detroit and San Francisco real quick. But did you hear people are starting to hate Patrick Mahomes because he's winning too much now?
See, we live in a world with haters. You're successful. You're successful. People hate you. And that's the world we live in. I don't know where he came from, but I'm happy for anybody who's doing something positive. I don't care what color you are, what size you are, what religion. As long as you do something positive, I'm happy for you. Nowadays, someone does something good, they hate it. Like I heard a guy say, let's see, Taylor came down to the field and was hugging Travis. They said, "You're ruining the NFL." I don't know if you heard that. What's wrong with you? This is bringing the NFL to another level. And I was, I don't know, what their thought process is, but that's what I call a hater.
It's crazy. So I can only imagine how the Super Bowl is going to end up. Like, you know what? The only thing that would be better is if she was the halftime show. She might be the special guest at halftime with your boys. That was,
But think about it. If he is smart, he might bring it harder. Everybody gets to embrace somebody.
that's right.
And that
Usher.
would take him to another level. As a
That's
matter of fact, the Super Bowl gets over 100 million people. Well, I got to say this before we do that. When I played with the Raiders, my in the NFL, they called me and they said, Billy, you need tickets because the game is in Las Vegas. I said, how much are they? 6,000? And he said, he's giving me a discount because the tickets are really 8 to 12,000, but he's giving me a discount. I said, dang, you got to be crazy to pay $12,000 for two tickets.
that is crazy. That is crazy. So that's amazing. So let's talk. We only got a little bit of time. Let's talk about Detroit and Detroit. Detroit played a great game. You know, Dan Campbell was getting crushed for going for it on fourth down. They didn't complain the first fourth down. And I get it. The first fourth down, he went for it and got it. He went in and scored a touchdown. That was great. I just think when you look at how, and this is his second year. This is first time coach, young coach. And I think he made a poor decision, but he was going with what he knew. Like, let's break their back. But knowing the situation, and I guess if he would have had more experience, he may have kicked the field goal at that time. Given, hey, I'm playing against a great team, San Francisco. Let's put points on the board in the second half. And the team, and the young, and don't forget, Detroit is a young team. And they came out really, like, I think, overconfident. Like, look, we got them down 24. We got them, we're beating them by 21 points and they just started taking things for granted. And I think that's what hurt them in the second half is that they didn't come out ready to play. And I think that youthfulness kind of reared its ugly head.
I was listening to Logan Ryan, who's the defensive back for the 49ers. He said it's a bad call. If he takes that 46-yard field goal and puts them up by 17 at the half, the 49ers would have thought, maybe it's a bigger uphill battle. That's why I called Campbell because the coach of the Los Angeles Chargers did 6 or 7 times, and that's why he got fired. That's why they brought in a different coach from Michigan. I just think that the situation, I'm really tired of the analytical part because you don't really get feeling something. That's in football because you know you're playing. And San Francisco roaring back, and I don't think they're unstoppable unless you did something offensively. And they did everything wrong in the second half. Didn't even put themselves a chance. 49ers scored 27 straight points. And like I said, when things go wrong, people look back on stuff, Monday morning quarterback, and say, shoulda, coulda, woulda. But I definitely even thought when the time was during the game, take the field goal, go up even 17. So I'm not getting mad at him because he is a good coach, but I think you got to think about points on the board anytime you have.
Absolutely. And it's hard to get back there. It's hard to get back to a championship and make it to a Super Bowl. So given how even though they're good, and given how young they are and we're just continuing to grow talent wise, it's just hard to get back there. And he was quite frank with his team and saying, look, we may not be back here again. We gotta take a chance. We gotta take every opportunity for what it's worth and make the best of it. And I wish the best for Dan. I think this is a learning experience for him and his team. It reminds me of that 1997 game with Minnesota, when we played Minnesota in the wild card game, and they came back and won because we were up by 14, 21 points. They come back and kick a field goal to tie the game and win it in overtime. It was it was one of those days where it reminded me like you got a team that's overconfident that shouldn't be on the same field, and they just forget that look, this team is probably better than we are, and we can't be floating on our oats. I think that was the problem with the Detroit Lions.
Charles, I know this is pretty deep, but I know you've been somewhere one time where you've been up a little bit and you've eased up a little bit. I know we was up 24 points and a half, and I eased it as a running back. I just my mental part of it eased up. I thought we had victory, and then they came back and beat us. I just think it's hard to do what they do because they say San Francisco is a loud place, and we cannot give them any opportunities. I think Detroit gave them too many chances to come back, and they came roaring back. I mean, I felt like a big old rock was coming because I didn't think Detroit had a chance once San Francisco scored the first 2 or 3 times they had the ball.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And hopefully it's a learning experience. Hopefully they can get back there again. They do have a great team. They just got to have the same focus and the same determination and don't get comfortable. Don't get complacent like a lot of teams do. And that's that Super Bowl hangover. The losing team in the Super Bowl always has a terrible year. And it's because they feel as though we made it. We beat everybody in our division. We can just come in next year without putting the work in and trying to improve and get back there. And I think that's the problem. But you're listening to the Expressway with Billy Taylor and Charles Show Me the Way right here on alumnimedia.com. Check us out every Wednesday live on NFLalumnimedia.com from 11 a.m. to 11 a.m. If you miss us live, you can always check us out on YouTube at 9 a.m. We got a lot more to talk about. We're going to talk some NBA basketball coming up. Obviously, a lot of stuff going on in the NBA, but we got a lot to talk about. We'll be right back in a minute.
And we're back for the fourth quarter of the Expressway. Billy Taylor and Charles Way. Having a good time in the world of sports. Always doing that. And one more thing I'm going to say about the game, Charles, is that Patrick Holmes has got to be one of the most incredible quarterbacks that I've ever seen. When he gets out of the pocket, when he gets on the run, he still looks downfield for his wide receivers. And I think he really showed, the bad thing is he showed Lamar Jackson the difference between the two of them. Anyway, we're getting to the NBA, and what I'm shocked at is the Knicks have won 8 in a row. Don't remember the last time they won 8 in a row. They said back in the 90s they did this. They're playing good defense. They had a good trade, and I'm shocked because this guy Brunson, man, he's playing like an all-star every single game. It's just fun to watch.
Yeah, I think they moved up. They're third seed now. They're third seed and or the fourth seed, one of the two. So that's exciting. They got a good team. They got the addition of the kid from Toronto, Van, yeah, OG Ananobi, which has helped. Um, Jalen Brunson has been playing well. As long as they don't get any injuries, obviously, Randall is hurt with his shoulder. I don't know how long he's going to be out. They said it's not as bad as they thought it was, but they don't know how long he's going to be out. So that's a huge blow to them. But they got a good team.
Yeah, I do, and I'm really kind of happy about them because I wasn't a fan of them when Patrick Ewing was playing because he was so nasty to the press. And that was the only reason. I ask you this question. We've had some high scoring games. Luke Doncic of Dallas hit 73. Someone else, your guy Joel Embiid hit 70. Is the NBA getting soft, or they're not playing defense, or what? Because the Nets the other night had 147 points against the Utah Jazz. People are scoring more than I've ever seen them. Because I remember back in the 80s and 90s when it was tough to score. Nowadays, it seems like it's just like almost the NFL football. They want the offense to do better. I think that attracts people. I don't know if there's something wrong with the NBA to allow this to happen.
I think so. I think because I mean they get touch fouls. You remember back in the day, they could probably beat you over the head before they call a foul, right? But now, I mean, you darn near gotta just go swipe or just put your hand in front of them, and they're gonna call a foul. I mean, they call so many touch fouls you don't know, and that's why people say they like the playoffs because it's a different game. It's more of an old school game. They let a little bit more contact go. But how do you get ready for the playoffs, right? If you can't practice during the regular season when you're doing touch fouls, you really and so defense are at a disadvantage because every time you try to stop somebody, you can't, and that's why these teams like Indiana, the Knicks are playing the way they're playing is because hey, if they're calling touch fouls, and we can get to the free throw line every time we drive by. So they got quick guys. It's like driving dish, driving dish. And they got guys that can shoot. The difference between the game today and the game from yesteryear when we were coming up is that more people are shooting 3 pointers. You got 7 foot guys shooting 3 pointers, where You didn't have that back in the day. So all five guys can hit shoot a three.
What that does is open the entire court up. I think the kids from Europe have really did that. They come along and really, even Porzingis, who's playing with the Boston Celtics, used to be the Knicks. He's 7'3", shooting a three. Victor, number one draft choice from San Antonio, he's 7'5", shooting a three. I think we had a different game than maybe Stephen Curry maybe has something to do with it because he's opened up the game for kids who thought they weren't big enough to play. All you got to do really now is have great handles. You have to handle the ball really well and work on your outside shot. If you do that, you have a chance. And that's the thing that I worry about too is that they're not playing the way that I want them to play because they're making it easy for you to get shots. Because like I said, it's wide open now.
Hey, so before you go, I just wanted your opinion. The USA came out with their player pool for the USA team for their Olympics this year, right? You got to pick 12 guys from out of this list of 40, right? I think Ben has the list. I printed up the list for you, but listen to these players and you tell me if you can pick 12 out of the list that I'm about to show you. All right? You got Bam Adebayo, Garrett Allen, no. Paolo Banchero, even though he's a good young player, no. Desmond Bain, no. Scotty Barnes, no. Devin Booker, yes. That's two.
Yes.
Bam Adebayo and Devin Booker. Michael Bridges, great player, great role player. I just don't know if he's a top 12. You got Jaylen Brown.
Role player. Role player.
I'm sorry, but what about Jaylen Brown?
Yes.
Okay, so that's but that's three. So that's three. You got Jalen Brunson. We just talked about Jalen Brunson. Not yet, though. Not yet.
Why not?
Wait. I gotta show you the list. Look at the list. All right. Jimmy Butler. Does he get to go? Okay. Yes. Alex Caruso, no. Stephon Curry. That's five. Anthony Davis.
Yes, even though I don't think he's
as tough as he should. 6.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant.
Absolutely.
7. What about Anthony Edwards? Let's put him on the fence. We got 7. We got
Minnesota?
Yes.
He's exciting.
We got 7. So we already got 7. All right. Okay. Joel Embiid.
Of course, he's your guy.
8. De'Aaron Fox.
No. Oh, yeah.
Let's put him on the fence. Okay. Because we got 8. Paul George.
He's having a great season.
Let's put him on the fence too. You put him on the fence? Not 9.
No, I'll give it to him. I'll give him the 9. All right. You got to put Quiet Leonard on there if you put him on.
All right, that's what I'm saying. So you got 9. You got Aaron Gordon, no.
No.
What about Tyrese Halliburton? Probably having the greatest season of all golf. Made that team. Everybody picked him. Is he fifth? On the fifth? Okay.
Don't get me wrong, he is great. He is, but I think to be great, you got to do more than one season.
All right. What about James Harden?
Definitely not.
Okay. Josh Hart.
And I'm probably a little prejudiced because I think of him in the same way as Lamar Jackson.
Okay. So you got Tyler Hero? No. What about Drew Holiday?
No, he's a great defensive player, but I think he's a role.
All right, Chet Holmgren, no. Brandon Ingram, no. What about Kyrie Irving?
I like Kyrie Irving. He's not a team player, but he's great.
All right. So we still got 9. No, we got 8. We got 8. No, 9. Paul George is 9, right?
Yeah, Paul George is 9.
So we only got 3 spots left.
I got to give one to Giannis.
Hold on. We only got 3. Giannis is he's playing for the Greek team. So hold on.
Right.
All right. So we got Aaron Jackson. What about LeBron James? All right. So that's 10. We got 2 more left. Walker Kessler? No. Kawhi Leonard.
Gotta give it to him, but the only thing that makes you mad, he only plays when he wants
to. Okay, so you got 11. So you got 1 spot left. So here is the guys for 1 spot. And I'm only going to name the guys that are all-stars. Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, Jason Tatum, and Trae Young. So So who are you getting? Are you getting rid of Bam Adebayo? All right. So
The only reason I don't think people I even think about is Damian Lillard and Tatum. The other guys,
not Donovan Mitchell or Trey Young.
Trey's too little.
Okay.
He may be 160, but I think
So,
when it comes to, because you play USA basketball, that's a tough game. They're not giving you nice fouls like you play in the NBA. You're not tough.
so you go with Damian Lillard and Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
So that's your
Name all
12.
12. Name all 12.
Okay, so you said Jason Tatum 1, Damian Lillard 2, Kawhi Leonard 3, LeBron James 4, Paul George 5, Joel Embiid 6, Kevin Durant 7, Anthony Davis 8, Stephen Curry 9, Jimmy Butler 10, Devin Booker 11. Mister.
Well, they're going to go up against the European team with Luka, Giannis, Joel. Joel Embiid is a foreign guy, isn't he?
No, he got a U.S. He got a U.S. He's a citizen now.
Well, the European players, I think, they're fundamentally sound. They're going to put up a game against the USA.
You got a lot of people. You got hold on. So, all right, let me do this again. So you said we got Devin Booker is 1, Jimmy Butler is 2, Stephon Curry is 3, Anthony Davis is 4,
Yep.
Kevin Durant is 5, Joel Embiid is 6, Paul George is 7,
Leonard.
LeBron James is 8, Kawhi Leonard is 9, Damian Lillard is 10, and Jason Tatum is 11. So you got one more.
Maybe Anthony Edwards
Or Tyrese Halliburton. Or Drew Holiday. What about Drew Holiday? You need somebody that can guard those guys.
You're exactly right. I'm gonna go with Drew because we got too many scores already.
Right.
He's a team guy, plays outstanding defense, and then we'll have some disagreement on that. But I think Drew Holiday is the perfect player. It is. That's a good 12, but only thing I'm worried about those Europeans can shoot.
But hopefully they can play defense. You got a lot of length too. Look at it. Your front line, you can put Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant. Look, think about this. Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kawhi Leonard. That's your 5.
Regular team. Regular team. You get people coming off the fence.
I know, but who you want to guard with that 5? You got Kawhi. Kawhi seems like that dude is natural stuff.
He's one of the best in the business.
That's right.
But the NBA has got more talent now than I've ever seen it. Used to be a few good teams, but now almost every team has got some superstars. And everybody has a chance to make it. And that's why I'm probably first time in my life behind the Knicks because of the way they did it. And Vic Thibodeau, the head coach, plays good defense. He's making good substitutions. So we just have to see.
Yeah, that's what they said. That was fun. I can't wait to see. It's going to be a lot of. That's going to be a lot of news-worthy information when they start selecting the final 12 for USA basketball. I'm curious to see who they select. But you've been looking and listening to the Expressway with Billy Teller, PT Express, show me the way right here on NFL Alumni Media. Each and every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. We want to thank Ben back at the studio for making us sound and look good as always. And great BT. Love hanging out with you, brother, each and every week. Check us out on YouTube if you missed the show anytime on Friday starting at 9 a.m. Can't wait to see you next week. Got a lot more.
We're giving our picks next week. We're giving our
Yeah, we'll be giving our picks next week, so that'll be fun. This will be. I'm already up. I'm like 1 up from last week. I'm up on BT, but can't wait to see you guys enjoy the week, rest of the weekend. See you next week. Have a good week.
Take care, man. Have a good